Stay safe during your open houses. Like you always have the right to refuse service. If you don't want somebody coming in, don't let them come in. You can require all guests to sign in. You can say the sellers or your office requires that it happens if that's going to make you feel better. You can make sure somebody knows where you're going to be and how long you're going to be there. You could share a Google appointment with me if that helps. If you want me to be your safety buddy, and then you just text me when I leave, and I know that I don't have to look there for the body. Somebody's giving you the creeps, then call somebody and just have them be on the phone with you, or ask them to call and check in with you in a couple minutes. Um, do it doesn't matter if it feels fake or weird or uncomfortable. If you are uncomfortable, do whatever fake, weird, uncomfortable thing you need to do to feel safe. There are fake a call apps so that you can put those on your phone too and set it up so that you can pretend somebody's on your way there and you've got to sign a paper for them, or that they're going to come meet you here so that they think there's another person coming, or whatever you want to pretend when your fake call comes through. Security also, never park in the driveway so that you can be blocked in. The street is fine because you can pull forward and you can pull backward, but when you park in the driveway, somebody parks behind you and it's definitely harder. Not to mention, you just want to leave the good parking to the people at your open house whenever possible. You want them to pull in and like the parking situation and want to stay, right? So don't take the good parking and make them walk. Bring a buddy. You can bring a lender or another agent or even a friend. I've brought my husband to open houses before, and whenever a real guest shows up, he stands up and starts wandering the house like he's just an open house guest. And they don't really know the difference. They just think he's some guy that's there. Always let the client enter the space first. Don't open you let them open the door. Them go through. They go in front of you. Feel free to lock the front door if you have to go to the bathroom. Like you can shut down for a minute. You can decide to put a sign on or not, but you don't have to just let people into the house if you have to be um, unavailable for a minute. And make sure that you walk the whole property and lock it up securely when you leave. Sign in options. You can just have a sign in sheet. Canva's got templates to use that are easy and look nice. If you have an actual paper, fill in the first line all the way across. My mom, Lucy Foster, lives in Minnesota, but she is line one on every open house sheet I've ever had, with her phone number, with an email, all the way across. Because people are copycats. And if the first person only puts like initials on the line, then everybody after that is going to only put their initials. But if the first person that came through fills out that whole line, everybody's that much more likely to actually give you all the information you need. So I, by hand on my sign-in sheets, write a fake name in there on every sheet and fill in the whole thing so that they're that much more likely to fill out the whole thing. So if you see my papers, Lucy Foster lives in Minnesota. She's never been to an open house of mine, but she's signed in on all of them. The screenshot is from the KV Core Open House app. It puts your sign-in leads directly into KV Core with their own hashtag, and you can assign additional hashtags. So it'll be like an open house. It'll be like, it looks like gobbledygook, but it'll be something like open house with the address, with part of the address and the date or something will be the one that KV Core makes up. But then I would put, like on this property, I would put something like Duval as an additional hashtag, or, you know, that would probably be the main one I put on that one. I have hashtags for acreage properties and farm properties. If that's what they're looking for, I'll just, if it's that kind of property, or if it's a condo or something, I'll put like a condo hashtag on it to note that they're interested in that sort of property. And then you can set KV Core campaigns to be sent automatically when the leads are uploaded. So before you even get home, they can have an email from you saying it was so great meeting you today. I'll touch base with you soon to see how I can help with next steps or whatever you want to say. And you can edit it all and make it sound like you. The do you have an agent issue? I do not ask, do you have an agent in my KV Core app or on my paper sign-in sheets? I leave those lines off. I would rather have a conversation with them. The only time I wouldn't put, do you have an agent? I have at times put, who is your agent? And if they actually give me a name, then I figure they actually have an agent. Otherwise, people will say yes just because they don't want you to call. So I don't make it that easy for them. I'm going to do a little more work and find out if they actually have an agent. And now you don't have an agent unless you have a contract. So, do you have an agent isn't even the right question anymore. The right question is, do you have a buyer's agreement, a current buyer's agreement with an agent? And if they don't, then they are free reign to pursue as your clients. But get their info. You have to encourage people to sign in. Be, a nice jerk about it and tell them they have to do it. Because if you don't get any contact information from people, your day was wasted. There's no reason to do an open house if you're not going to walk away with any information. You guys stop me if you have a question. What do I bring? I have these 2 tubs. Oops. Trying to move you over because your pictures are all on my thing here. I have these 2 tubs that I use for my open houses. They have my flyers and informational paperwork. They've got the coloring sheets that we looked at earlier, along with colored pencils or crayons, business cards. I have balloons that I use, and I put them kind of on sticks like Red Robin does, rather than trying to do helium, because helium is a pain to get sometimes. I almost always have extra socks in my open house tubs because, Christine, as women, sometimes we're wearing sandals that don't have socks. And I would prefer to take off my shoes than wear booties on my shoes. So then I have socks to slip on. But
Yeah.
even gentlemen, you may want extra socks also because we live in the Pacific Northwest and it's ridiculously wet. And when you're out there putting out your signs, your feet may get all wet. And you may really be glad to have some nice dry socks to wear during that open house rather than soggy socks to wear through the whole open house. Um, I tend to have a roll of toilet paper, soap, and a dish and a hand towel, like a nice bathroom hand towel, especially when I'm doing more fixer type properties or vacant properties. Because if you need to go to the bathroom and the house is vacant and they didn't leave a roll of toilet paper, that can be quite the pickle. So you would be glad that you have it. Also, if the house is vacant, you might want to have a nice looking kind of camp chair for collapsible chair that so you have something to sit on. Or else just make sure you pick houses that have furniture because standing for 3 hours or sitting on the floor is not super fun. I also have a tape measure in my tub so that if somebody wants to figure out if their couch is going to fit, I just hand them the tape measure and they can use it. I've gotten freebies from NAR, from photographers, from stagers. So I just watch for those freebies and kind of collect them. And if they disappear, it's not a big deal. Cups, napkins, plates. We talked about it this morning, but I don't usually need silverware for the food I bring. I use the toothpicks that I showed you this morning. So watch the morning video. Whatever food that I bring, a laptop or iPad for the signing in, and then a phone charger because it's a bummer when your phone dies. And also, if you're using your phone as a hotspot for internet, then that is more difficult also to get all the information you need or whatever. So, internet is helpful. During the open house, what I do, I don't sit there and say, you walk around, I'll talk to you later. That does not garner any support. I greet the guests, I ask them to sign in. I answer any questions that they have. I gather their information. I gather information from the neighbors about the neighborhood or the house. Like I might be learning as much about the property as telling people about the property. I'm going to try to set appointments with hot leads, which now means I get a buyer's agreement right away. So if, we talked this morning about calling the expireds. Well, if you know that that expired that you talked to and is willing to sell still is open to selling and the lead comes in and the open house is not the right house for them, but that expired might be, I'm going to have them sign a buyer's agreement and I'm going to try to take them to that house right after my open house. Like I'm going to strike while the iron's hot. Uh, Follow up right away when you have free time. So text your information to people. If you need to text a flyer, if you need to email lenders or other listings because the listing you're at isn't right, like send them follow up right away. Christine, for your, that gets you some follow ups for your fast cap.
Yeah,
So,
agreed.
yeah. Keep an eye on guests for security. I don't micromanage. I don't need to be in every single room. And we talked about, having an eye for security before the open house even started. So hopefully I know there's nothing really valuable sitting out that they can easily grab. But I'm not going to let somebody like go through the cabinets in the bathroom, so I'm going to be aware of where people are at and how long they've been there and, pop in and ask if they have a question and then back up a little bit. Share snacks and drinks. If I've got time, I'm going to do a Facebook Live video or a video tour, some sort of social media post. Again, Christine, that's going to help you with your fast cap stuff. Like you do your home previews and then share them. And if you bring a lender with rate sheets, then they can talk to people about lending right away, which helps you then to be able to, you can kind of tag team, keeping an eye on the people in the house if it's busy. After the open house, we're going to go back to your pictures, check what you hid. If you moved the earrings, your picture is going to tell you where they were, and you're going to put them right back where they were. You're going to put the thermostat back how it was, whether it was too cold or too hot, just put it back where it was. Collect all your flyers, or else if there is a flyer box outside, sometimes I will tuck my flyers in the back of that flyer box because those boxes end up empty a lot of times and it kind of helps the agent to have a couple extra flyers in there. And signs and cards, you're going to have to pick up all your directional signs. Turn off all the lights, lock all the doors, pack up all your supplies and garbage, excuse me, and then send a text or email to the listing agent with a report on how the open house went. So, how many, excuse me, groups of people did you have come through? And what sort of context did you, or what sort of comments did you hear? Oh boy. Um, did they think the house smelled like dog? Do they really love the flooring? Whatever it is. The agent may know that, did they all say this is way overpriced? The agent might know it's overpriced, but he needs that feedback to work with his client and get them to understand that it's overpriced. So whatever feedback you give, they're going to be thankful. But you don't have to give them the contact info. Those leads are yours. So you don't give them any specifics. You just give them the general comments. Leave a business card and return the key to the key box and then get all your directional signs as you're leaving.
Hey, Melanie, I do
Yeah.
have a question. Here, I'll turn my video on, sorry. Um, in regards to like the flyers that you produce beforehand,
Mhm.
I know that like it's all of your information on there, but is there any sort of protocol or whatever to put, is there any sort of necessity to put the listings agent's name on
There
it on
is
it?
not any sort of requirement that you have to put the listing agent on your flyer.
Okay.
Um,
So then in regards to if people are asking you if this is your listing, at the open house itself, then you're not
You're
required. I
not
mean, you're
telling
required
them
to
it's
tell
your
them that.
listing. You can tell
Right.
them that you're there to as a buyer's agent and then it's not your
Okay.
listing. And I usually tell most people that because I might
Okay.
have to look at, if they have a question, I might have to look longer than they would expect me to find out the answer. So I'll be like,
Okay.
it's actually
Yeah.
not my listing, so, let me double check that for you and I can get you that information right now.
Oh, okay. Okay, cool.
So, yeah, so
Thank
don't
you.
make it, you don't have
Yeah.
to, don't say that it's your listing because it's
Right.
not,
Yeah. It's
but
not
you
right.
don't have to send all the people to the listing agent either.
Okay. Gotcha.
So,
Thanks.
yeah. After the open house, follow up, follow up, follow up, follow up. Like if you don't actually call the people who were there, you've wasted your whole day because you didn't actually do anything. So look in your KV Core, set up an auto search if they need, or if KV Core automatically set a search for them, update it. So maybe it's set, it usually will set up a search that's like plus and minus 10% of the home price. Like if KV Core will automatically set it up, it kind of makes that house price the middle of the search parameters. But if you talk to them and you know that they could barely afford that house that you're in, then you're going to want to adjust those search parameters so that they fit their thing better. Or, if they was in Kirkland and it's the search is set up for Kirkland, but you know that they're interested in Kirkland and Bothell, then expand the search so that they're getting the right information. If there was a pre-inspection, I never give that to them at the open house. I'm going to email that to them afterwards, and then I'm going to call them and make sure that they got it. If you send it through KV Core, the first emails through KV Core tend to end up in junk mail. Like but just so you know, and hopefully you guys are all getting my emails in your inbox now because you've all been told by me 47 times to look for them and move them to your inbox. And is it annoying that they start there? Yes. Does it give you an opportunity to call and say, hey, I just sent you that inspection. Can you look for it in your inbox or your spam and see that you find it and then move me to your inbox? Yes. It gives you another opportunity to follow up and build some rapport and make sure they're getting your information. So my things are all set up that you get an email from me and then you get a text like an hour later that says, hey, did you get my email? And then I'm going to check and make sure it went through and follow up again. So did they get your email? Call to see if they had any questions. Do they need a CMA of that property that you were looking at or the property that they live in? Maybe they need to know if they can sell the house they live in right now for as much as they need to buy the house that you are in today. Set a buyer listing appointment. Did you click with that agent? And you and that agent should go out for coffee and see, if they want to learn more about EXP. Maybe either the agent or somebody who visited has a business you can partner with. Maybe you find out they have a septic business or they're a carpenter or whatever. Like maybe you want to learn more about their company and make them one of your partners. Do they need lenders? Send them some lender recommendations. Like you are looking for a reason to follow up with these people. So this is a long list of ideas. Do they want a second look or do they want to see something else? Get the BBSA or are they ready to place an offer? You can always ask them. Ask them if they want to buy the house. You're going to be shocked, but it'll be fun when they say yes. But if you don't ask them, they're not going to shock you. So final comments on this. Yeah, basically this is kind of some of the other things in my box. I have that little realtor shaped screwdriver multi-kit and then a little pocket knife. That's the stick that I put the balloons on, kind of the Red Robin sort of balloon sticks, and one of my little freebie tape measures. And then I just have manila folders like that in my tubs that have the different paperwork in that I set out. Any questions on this before we move on to some of the other stuff? No? Is this helping you guys?
A lot.
Yes,
Okay.
a lot.
Okay. So, like, please, this is always an open conversation. So tell me what I'm not telling you. Can you see my
Oh,
KV core now?
not yet. We still see the deck.
Okay.
Melanie, do you take hard copies of the BBA?
I haven't been because I really prefer the computer versions.
Mhm.
Um, but I'm also really fast at doing the computer version, so it's not a big deal to me to have to, type it up real fast. I'm real comfortable with the forms. I definitely would, it wouldn't be a bad idea for you guys to have at least one BBSA printed with a P1 in your open house kit so that you could fill it out by hand real fast. And if for some reason you mess something up on it, we'll fix it digitally the next day and get it cleaned up. But make sure you're familiar, like watch my video on how to do a BBSA and make sure that you have a general idea how to do it because you want to be able to talk through it confidently. Because if you are trying to do it right there at the table with them and you haven't read through the first contract you're going to ask them to sign, it's going to hurt your credibility. So make sure you're comfortable with it. All right. So once I have let's see, we're going to do a couple different things. Let's actually start in Matrix. You guys can see my internet now, right? Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we're going to just do the whole thing here of when I am looking for an open house, I'm going to come into general here. I only want active properties, so I'm going to unclick everything else. And then the map search is kind of like if like Robert, you're going to search those areas that you're sending postcards to. Like that is absolutely where you need to start because you want to be where you're doing your marketing. You want them to see
Yeah.
your signs. So if you have a farm area, you want to focus on that area if you can. You guys know I have more of a demographic farm than a geographic farm, so I tend to focus on lot size. And I usually would do like a normal search for me would be like a 5+ acre thing, kind of in my area because I like my area. And then I don't like 2.5 million is kind of that's 25 million. Let's try the right number of zeros. 2.5 million is like definitely kind of the most luxury I want to go when I'm looking for properties. Because as we talked this morning, watch the one this morning if you didn't, you get beyond that and they're just looky-loos. They're not serious about it. I like residential rather than condo. I know, Christine, you're in the city. You might
Yep.
like condos.
Yep.
So you guys decide what your geographic things are. So here's my map. Let's see. That's my house right there in the middle. But this is my area, right? Like this is where I like to be. Um, all right. So let's look at the results. Then the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to do like a multi-line so I can kind of see what they look like. And I'm looking at days on market, 561. That's a no. If it's been on the market that long, I'm not interested. This one's 193. Hey, this is the one that we did the offer class on like a couple months ago. So this one's been on the offer. So let's see. All right, we got a 3-day here. No, 83. That was fireplaces. 60. You know what? I don't like any of these. Like I am looking for a property that has been on the market for probably under 2 weeks is what I want. because, or else had a recent price drop. So I have to switch my parameters somehow. And I can do that however I want. I can drive further. I can change the lot size, and last week I wanted to do an open house and I really had trouble. I took lot size off. If I'm just looking in town, suburban, I want at least 3 bedrooms generally, and I want at least 2 baths because that's going to hit most buyers. And now I'm at 910 matches instead of 5, right? Like I have just greatly increased my chances. Now I've got a much busier map here. So I'm going to start now with single line now that I have some options and CDOM, cumulative days on market. So I'm going to sort by days on market first. So like I've got 5, 6 properties here that are on day one. 2.5 million. That's a pretty big house. That's probably more than I want. I know that Lake Kayak is out in the middle of nowhere, so that's going to have limited. New construction is sometimes hard to get into because they have their own people, but we talked about that this morning, though. You certainly can make a point of building a relationship with a builder and see if you can be in this area where they're selling houses, and that's a great tool to try. All right, here's one that would look interesting to me. Downtown Redmond, 2-story, $2 million. And it's been on the market for 3 days. That sounds pretty good. So now we're going to open that one up. Next thing we're going to look at is open houses. There's none scheduled. So that's a good sign, right? Use showing time. So I'm just looking over to see what I need to know. As far as open house goes, this looks pretty reasonable and a good bet for me. So I will be texting this agent. It's 10 o'clock, so I'm not going to do it right now. But tomorrow morning, I'm going to text Carla at this broker phone number. And I'm going to send her a text that says, "Hi, I'm Melanie with eXp Realty. I would love to host an open house on Saturday for your listing." I can either say MLS number or else usually I'll say the address. 6632 188th Place Northeast in Redmond. Would it be okay if I host, I'll do a great job. Can I host an open house for you? I'm going to send that. I'm going to keep looking right away. I'm not really going to wait. I'm going to see if I can text 3 or 4 agents probably. And if I end up with multiple ones that say yes, I'll be like, "Oh, I'm sorry. I was still looking and I already have another open house." Or I can decide to do multiple open houses. If the first one I set up from 10 to 1, then maybe I ask, "Well, can I do 2 to 4?" And I do 2 open houses. Or I try to say, "Oh, I booked Saturday already, but can I do Sunday?" Like I can take multiple open houses if I want to make money. That's a good way to do it. So I'm gonna stack up at least 3 or 4. This is actually my next door neighbor, and I'm kind of mad at him that I didn't list this house because I've sold it before, but that's on me. I screwed up by not being on top of him enough that he thought of me first. So I didn't do my calls, and I didn't, I talked to him too much about farm stuff and not enough about real estate stuff, and I blew it, and it's my fault. But it's not really a good location to have, actually, and it's really not listed very well. But it's my neighborhood's not a good location to do an open house because nobody wants to drive up here. But yet it's a good place for me to find buyers because the listing agent is not going to want to drive up here and do an open house or let a buyer in. If you ever see me have pictures with remote controls and tissues on the table, somebody better kick me because this is not acceptable. This should not be in professional real estate photos. Um, I know that they really were pushing it to be ready. The house was not ready, and they have financial reasons that they need it to sell. So I know they made a lot of progress to get here, but again, like, no. So if this were my listing on the day of, I would be grabbing that tissue box and holding it behind my back and out of the way of the photographer while they took those pictures, and then I'd put it back. I would probably grab, I think that's like a drink thing for dogs. Like I would have grabbed that and tucked it somewhere else. Um, I would have grabbed that stack of boxes and moved it out of the way and then put it back after the pictures in order to have this property have presented a lot better than it does. Because it's really a cool property and the pictures are not great. But this would be one where I would text the agent probably and ask if I could do an open house because I could do just a couple hours and maybe I'll meet. Really, I'm be looking to talk to neighbors as much as anything else. You know, gives me a reason to post on my neighborhood Facebook pages. Hey, I'm hosting an open house at this house. Come check it out. Come say hi. Like, those are my people. That's my geographic farm. So I want to remind all those neighbors, and actually own the Facebook group for our neighborhood. I'm the moderator. So nobody can tell me I can't publish my open house on there. Um, that's how I build rapport and turn this into multiple listings in the future. I would do an open house here in order to generate listings in my neighborhood to show them you want the agent that actually understands our weird little neighborhood here and knows how to sell it. So I will be contacting her in the morning because she did 2 open houses last weekend. They've already reduced the price. Wow, that's interesting. It just went on the market last Friday. Last weekend she did 2 short open houses, but she hasn't scheduled one. They're on this front screen here. Do you see? Right here, open houses, public. Here's the times. So I know that there's no open house scheduled, so I will probably be here at some point this weekend for doing an open house. But I also want that Redmond one because that's going to have much better traffic. So I'm going to try to snag both of those for Saturday if I can. Once I've sent 3 or 4 texts to places that I'm interested in, if I haven't heard back from them already, I start calling them. And listing agents really should answer their phone. So it's annoying when they don't, but I'm going to try. And I'm going to call them and see if I can get a time set up. So I'm looking for easy locations to get to, but yet for me, I, kind of want acreage and space. What's interesting is there's a Monroe property that I tried to get last weekend and I never got a call back. And she was the former designated broker for Washington for EXP. She's opened her own brokerage now in Monroe. And I'm like, Tammy, I didn't know you had your own brokerage now. Like, I'd love to do an open house for you. And I never heard back from her. I couldn't believe it. So sometimes it takes lots of effort. It's not necessarily easy. And when you're like, I contacted 3 people and I didn't get anything, poor me, I'm going to tell you, do 8 more. Like until you've done 8, you didn't try hard enough. Like if you want an open house, you may have to work for it. Robert, you've got access to the VIP stuff. So are you going to do one for Sheng this weekend?
I might. I'm
Yes.
trying to figure out childcare on my end.
Yeah. He's
Yeah,
looking. So check it out. And you know your kids, so you decide what you need to do. But I have brought my kids before and
Oh,
an
okay.
iPad. Like it just depends if your kids are a terror, but mine can be good. And then they want to help show the house and they're actually really cute usually and people appreciate them. But
Okay.
if my kids were a terror, I wouldn't do that. So you have to decide based on, and a terror doesn't necessarily mean bad kids. It just might mean too much energy to be locked in a house for a couple hours that isn't filled with toys.
Yes.
Okay, so We're only got 2 minutes left already. Wow, we need a three-parter. Maybe I can record one tomorrow to finish it up. But once I find the open house, let's say I found one, let's say they texted me back. I'm like, you need to put it on the MLS. Like, I want to see it here quickly so that I know that everybody's getting that information. Then I'm going to go to KV Core is going to be one of my next steps. When you search listings on KV Core, you automatically get a direct link here. So like this is one of Sheng's listings. This direct link, I copy, like this is what oh, that's my KV Core website. This is the exact same thing as setting up an actual squeeze page in KV Core. It's just less steps. So like here's my EXP website, direct link to that thing. So, I can tell you to go into the other option would be here, lead engine, build a squeeze page, single property, and you put it in. The advantage to doing it this way, we have less than a minute, we're going to turn off, is I can put in hashtags. So when people go through that link, hashtags are going to go into my KV Core. But either way, it's going to ask them to register in your KV Core website. So if you publicize the listing using your link, they're going to be asked to register for your KV Core website. And mine is set for like 2 views, although I might be signed in already. So, it's going to come up pretty fast with asking me to sign in. And then it gives you the option to like create a login or use KV Core, or I'm sorry, Facebook or Google.